My name is Jon Cassar, and I'm the director of Daybreak.
Tim Kring, K-R-I-N-G, and I am the co-creator of Daybreak.
And I'm Esther Lee, Senior Vice President, Brand Marketing, Advertising and Sponsorship for AT&T.
We knew we wanted to just tie it very, very loosely to one another, the two worlds. So it was really about introducing the MacGuffin of Daybreak is this dodecahedron shape, this mystical shape that throughout history has had a whole, many meanings and interpretations as to its power. In ancient Greece, you literally couldn't say the word dodecahedron without being killed, put to death. So it's an object that's kind of has a culty quality to it.
Right.
If you look it up if you Google it, there's a lot of stuff written.
I'll wiki it when we're done before I start writing anything.
So we introduced that shape into touch as a kind of mysterious shape that the boy in touch becomes fascinated with this shape, and we know that it has greater meaning. We're just not sure what it is yet, and it becomes a little bit more curious as we go along. And in the season finale, it plays a role in it, so that people who are watching the show are like, oh, I know that shape. I mean, that shape is very curious. I've got a lot of questions about it. Then Daybreak starts, and it's all about that shape. That's the tie.
The carryover.
Yeah. So the dodecahedron very much becomes the MacGuffin that is at the very center of Daybreak. So the idea is to take somewhat, I guess what you would call a transmedia approach to this by having a linear 50-some minutes of content that you can watch if that's the only experience you want. You'll get a completely satisfying,
Very satisfying
ride. It'll be a thrill ride, and you'll be able to watch it in that way and consume it in that way. If you're the kind of person who wants to dive deeper into that world,
content,
then you can click through to all sorts of content that's laid like Easter eggs out there for you to find that will deepen that.
Are there Easter eggs in the show? Throughout the show?
Yeah, well, the cool thing is that we introduce an actual app in the show, and the app does many things. The app allows you to.
It's called the Jack app.
And this is an integral part of the. It's an integral part of the show, and you as a participant / audience member.
And this is sort of our visual symbol to it all. That's right, you have to hit it. Come on. There we go.
No, I can either put that guy back in the box,
Flip it over.
or I can. And so you go, oh, what do? I don't know what to do. Oh, maybe I'll punch him in the nose, and he keels over.
And then it opens it up.
And
And it's very sort of high tech, and it has actual things in it that you could use.
Yeah, all the applications inside it.
Really beautiful.
It's a toolkit of applications. You have an image recognition application. You have an audio frequency application.
Right, because it's even like watching us talking right now.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
so in the actual show, there's this group that are called Jackboxers that are they're kind of like the anonymous.
That's right.
They're
It's like an
hackers.
underground hack.
Gotcha.
And they have created this application, and you'll start to see where and how you can use it in the real world. There's certain things that you can use your image recognition app
Nice.
for, and when you find that sticker or that universal sign that you can actually do an image recognition of, it will pop up content and send you to places.
Around here.
Anywhere.
Yeah, it's going to be all over.
So wherever people start posting the symbol
Yes,
up,
exactly.
it becomes an interaction.
And you
part.
can actually leave a message for somebody else. And then when they get there, they put the image recognition. And
The people they know will
your
see what
message.
they've seen.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So there's lots of really cool. So in this idea of the transmedia approach, the multi-platform approach, one of the goals is to place, rather than this being a laid-back experience, which it certainly can. Like I said,
If you
you can
want.
just lay back and turn your laptop on, or your computer on, or plug it into your TV and watch it, whatever. You can have that experience. Or you can have a much more engaged experience. And the holy grail, I think, now with the ability to carry around a device like that wherever you go, is that device makes it an almost pervasive experience. It's an experience that goes with you wherever you are. And so when you're commuting on the train in the morning,
and especially in how we sort of share media with each other now.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about these devices is that they are not only content consumption devices, they are content creation devices, which allows you to have a feedback loop with your audience that you never could before, a kind of immediate feedback loop. So Daybreak sort of leans into that idea and allows the audience to sort of participate in the narrative along with it.
So with I think the sort of tech forward approach that we're discussing with the quality of the show, what kind of involvement did AT&T have, or were they just sort of along for the ride? Were they influential in what types of devices were going to be used throughout the show? What kind of relationship did you guys have with that?
Well, very different from the normal, hey, can you stick a integrated product thing into
Can we just get a close-up of this phone real quick?
There's a very different approach.
And we both had that experience because
I think audiences have seen a lot of that, where someone pulls out a phone and for no good reason
this was incredibly different.
Yeah, this was baked in from the very, very beginning, that this wasn't going to be that kind of an experience for the audience. I think our audiences are very sophisticated now, and they know that somebody has to pay for content, and that by AT&T providing, sort of powering this, brought to you by, there is a real, I think, great association that an audience has when they have a really great experience, that someone made that possible for them to have that experience.
Right.
Now, this goes one step farther in that the technology that it was really at the heart of these applications that the audience can interact with are literally enmeshed into the narrative. They can't really be separated. It's not like it's a product that we're showing. It's an actual story point, key component of it. So baked very much into the DNA of it from the very beginning. And I think that's the real secret of this, is rather than it being an afterthought like it often is with a television show, you get a television show on the air, and then you sort of get married up with a brand because
and we've all had those experiences where in the middle of the episode someone starts waxing philosophical about the Toyota Prius or something like that.
So this is one of those perfect occasions where it all started at the same time, so those conversations could be had in a really organic
organically weaved into the show.
Well, and does it take some of the pressure off when they get to title card at the beginning, brought to you by AT&T, that they don't have to ram AT&T badging down your throat throughout the entire?
I think it's branded by with that from the beginning. So it allows, and Esther can speak more to
perfect
this.
timing.
Perfect
So
timing.
we're just talking
your
about
ears must have been burning.
We were. Oh, I'm sorry.
We were just saying how different it was to have the opportunity to bake into the very DNA of a project, the idea of a brand, that the brand and the project are inseparable, and it isn't like the normal shell that you usually have where, there's an existing show, and how do we put that shell on top of that existing thing? And so it's a sort of a byproduct of something being thought of from the very, very inception.
Organically. Well, part of it was these guys helped us kind of choose the right types of technologies that would work in a narrative structure. And the way that we built it in was it enabled certain pieces of the actual story. So a clue that had to be unraveled, or information that had to be gotten, or communication that had to happen in order for this next piece to happen. So, usually the network and apps are really hard to show in some kind of drama.
Right.
But in this case, the things that we chose, in some cases developed, really were around how to enable these people.
Yeah, and that's when you said developed, that's actually an interesting component here, is where does storytelling push technology, and where does technology push storytelling? And it's a really exciting thing as a storyteller to be able to go to a product developer and say, you know, it'd be cool if it had this thing and it did this they'll scratch their heads a little bit, and a week later they come back and I think we can figure that out. There's something really cool about that.
Well, if you take what Tim does, which is he thinks of technology as a way to drive the future of storytelling, right? And if you think about what we do, which is to develop technologies that actually make people's lives better, to actually enable them to do more, when you put those two things together, you do get this organic kind of integration. But we worked it. We did work it.
And listen, and it's unique because its time is right.
I think that's what
this conversation couldn't have been had 5 years ago.
Absolutely agree.
Now the time is actually right when you can say, wouldn't it be cool if we had an application that allowed the audience to actually talk back to the show? And we couldn't do that 5 years ago, and now we can. So it just opens up your mind as a storyteller when you realize that story isn't just this flat two-dimensional thing. It's now a three-dimensional thing. The story can go that way and can go that way. And
I was going to say that part of the reason this works for us too is that it's a web property, not just a screen property. So when you're on the web, and you haven't yet seen the website, right?
No, we haven't yet.
It hasn't gone live. But when you're actually watching the episodes, as soon as you see the device, a little link pops up, lights up, you go click on it, and the show kind of pauses while you go check out that device or an application. So it actually interacts with you and allows you to kind of know exactly what's being featured when it gets featured.
Is it a typical link like out to the AT&T website?
So it is for example, the device, but we've skinned that part of the website so it actually looks like Daybreak.
Okay. Oh,
so
wow.
it actually
kind lives in that.
So you don't feel like you've had to leave.
Yeah.
Right.
It lives inside that universe.
Exactly. So that's another component. And then I don't know if these guys, they probably wouldn't have, but the other business component is while this is going on, we're launching this at the same time we're launching the device that's in the narrative, we're launching it for real in the marketplace. So when you go to the stores, the reps will actually download the app. They'll talk about Daybreak.
So there's a specific phone launching tonight?
It's launching next week, but it's the same phone.
It's being featured.
Here.
Can we talk about that for a second?
So it's the HTC One X.
Okay.
And it has a lot of really interesting features, one of which, it won't show up in the main, it won't show up in the main episode, but it'll show up in some of the ancillary content. One of the unique features about this phone is actually when you videotape, any of the frames can be an actual photograph.
Right.
So you might have
been doing that already.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the One X.
So anyway, so that's not going to appear in the main episode, but it will appear in some of the ancillary content that we're interested in.
Well, and is from a storytelling perspective, is this the exciting threshold that we're peaking where, it used to be like a CSI, we would see some magic technology, and now we're getting to a point where there are companies facilitating the creation of and being for you to be able to use it in the moment when you're actually working with actors too.
For the first time, it's the first time I ever directed a show where, someone just said some technology thing in there that was actually real. On 24, we said that stuff. It didn't mean anything.
Right.
It just sounded really cool.
Well, we hacked the mainframe.
Prop guy would just put a funny light on it. The world around.
It was just these things that didn't really exist. And so,
make that thing make a funny
this
sound.
was the first time that everything that we were doing, I could an AT&T rep right there could tell me exactly what it did, and so I could actually convey that to an actor and say, no, this is exactly what it's going to do, and that makes a huge difference. I mean, and that is the new marriage, I think, that I've never seen before. This is the first time for me.
And so AT&T people were on set then?
Oh, absolutely.
Every day.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You were right there with me, and I actually enjoyed that experience too. I thought that was great. And again, very new. That's something that we've never really, when you're doing a television show, and even from the network level, you don't even have network people there. So that was actually quite new and felt really team-like. It really felt more team-like than I think any project I've done before.
It's funny that you should say that because I got asked today about, how did that collaboration work? It was almost like with that.
Well, people are so scared of it.
And I thought, that's a great question because you've got a big corporation, a big brand that has, its own marketing or reputational agenda. You've got BBDO, the agency that does a lot of stuff, has a very strong point of view, certain standards. You've got these guys who have done a tremendous amount of entertainment. Sorry, I'm so cold.
And we come at it. Yeah, I know.
Feels great.
And so there's an expectation that there was a clash of egos,
Right.
whatever else. This was one of the easiest things we've ever done. And I think part of it was that the base was so good. And, I don't know.
And we also, it wasn't an arranged marriage. That's the other thing. We all
Everyone
met
wanted to
early
be
on.
there.
I
That
mean,
was
I
the
had
difference.
I
It's
had
a big
really
difference.
shared I had really shared values from the very beginning when I talked to BB about it. About I thought I've been on the forefront of using sort of the internet and sort of a transmedia idea. So we had. I didn't. It's not like a gig for me. This is really my passion.
And actually, and you shot all of the touch in the 24
Yeah,
episode, so it's very much in sync.
Yeah, it was very much in sync. And again, because everyone wanted, even the actors. I mean, we interviewed some of the actors, actually some of the ones that are in our show, telling them what the show was about, got them very excited. Whereas you would think what's happening now, there's this kind of, again, line between, well, if it's web, then it's nothing. It doesn't really count. Whereas our actors were actually really excited about the idea of this sort of marriage, and they were totally into it. And so I think everybody I think understood the fact that this is it really is a pioneering project. It really is right out on the cutting edge of how these collaborations.
So because it was so fresh, were there initial concerns? Because I know part of the issue that we were talking about that too a little when we were coming out too is that cynicism that you have to get over of how savvy the audience is. You know, they'll smell advertising. So how do we package this? Exactly. So how did the sort of collaboration come together where people were able to sort of talk about ways to overcome that?
I mean, listen, I can only speak from my point of view. I think my intentions were very pure. I think that's part of what it is. I wasn't about, because I was so excited about, I really do believe, I'm quite, the evangelist about thinking that we are moving in a direction, we're at an inflection point, clearly in Hollywood, we can all feel it, as to where and how people are going to be consuming content, how people are going to actually interface with that content. And there has been a walled garden, clearly, in Hollywood for many, many years, and that walled garden is starting to crumble down. And are you going to be inside when the walls come crumbling down? Are you going to be on the outside, kind of moving with the flow? And so my intentions were just very pure. I was just excited. I mean, excitement was really my main emotion through this.
And I think the other thing that we share, because you touched upon it, is that part of why we went into this is we said, as a marketer, things are also changing. You can't just do advertising, right? You can't engage an audience. You can't make them love your brand just by doing ads. And so we were looking to kind of break the model. You've been really doing with transmedia, breaking the entertainment model. You've been breaking the model in terms of ways to tell stories. And I think that was kind of a common agenda that we didn't really talk about and say, how do we break the model? We're doing it.
I think that was part of what fueled us all, and that ability to be in a position where you feel like you're doing something new and challenging yourself is just it's a very exciting way to make content.
Did the actors feel like they were doing something new and different? Were they?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We literally had that sort of talk at the beginning.
We really did.
When we did in the casting and casting sessions, and we did when we
talked
all got together at the first time. We felt that this has that possibility of being one of those projects that moves things forward.
And they all asked really smart questions. Remember, they were very involved,
very savvy.
Where it was going to go, what was going to happen to it, and very excited about it. And so that was actually really exciting to see.
Was part of the casting process making them use a smartphone? Like, no smarphone illiterate actors kind of a thing?
Put your phone on the table, let's see what it is. Show us your phone.
We have, listen, the internet and the way the world works now has allowed us all to have such a direct connection with our, I would call them audience, you might call them customers. But it's the same idea. And I've, trying to have a more direct line with an audience, and I think AT&T is trying to have that more direct line.
Yeah, I think that brands actually, we talk a lot about brands being the emotional meeting ground between a company and our customers or our stakeholders. And I think that we say that, and yet a lot of brands, what they do is they have a selling relationship with customers, right? And I think especially with the advent of the internet, there's a lot more expectation around what are you going to give me, what's utility, value, and I think in return you get loyalty, you get love. You have to actually provide value beyond just I can sell you this product. And so this is about building that brand. It is about letting people know we're more than a phone company or a data company. We really are an innovation company.
It also humanizes the company.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it more of a name that people use at home versus, this is not just my phone company. They're making a really cool video now. They're making this web show.
They've got this cool app.
Yeah. I'm going to go download the app when we're done here.
Yeah,
Is it live already?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it is live.
It's live now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it on Android?
It is, and iOS. So.
Nice.
So
And
what's it called?
What about like Nokia users? Going to be Windows Phone too?
Symbian.
We
Symbian, stop that.
Don't make me shake the camera.
Not right now, but so.
It's okay.
But
I'm sure they're used to it by now.
Bill Gates is upset. Shh.
He's not at the company anymore.
I had a
you
good
guys
question.
do in your own private time.
We mock each other's phone choices.
A little bit, yeah.
I had a good question. What's the name of the app?
Well,
Jackbox.
the Jackbox.
Jackbox.
But it's go to jackboxers.
Jackboxer.
Okay.
Jackboxers, yeah.
Where should they go if they want to download the
So
app?
there's many places to download the app. You can go straight to the website, jackboxers.com.
Okay.
You can go on Daybreak2012.com and it'll say download the app.
Okay.
And I think there's through other links. You'll be able to
But they'll be able to find the iOS and the Android app from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, thanks,
Well,
guys.
actually,
Thank
Yeah, thank you.